Hello everyone, Space Marines, the poster boys of Warhammer 40k, and in my opinion, one of, if not the coolest aspect of the setting. Not to sound cliche, but I just love my good super soldiers. Always have, and it's one of the big reasons why I've fallen in love with franchises like Halo and eventually Warhammer. One of the questions that has always nagged at me about Warhammer 40k, and by extension Space Marines as a whole, was the question of who is the oldest Space Marine. Now, for those amongst the audience who are maybe not as attuned to the setting of 40k as myself, I'll give a brief recap / introduction on what a Space Marine is, if you are one of these people. Hi from me. I hope you enjoy the hobby and our setting as much as I do. Appreciate you choosing me to learn from today. Space Marines, also known as the Adeptus Astartes, are superhuman warriors engineered by the Emperor of Mankind to combat the greatest threats to humanity as a whole, created using gene seed derived from the Emperor's 21 demigod sons, the Primarchs. Each Space Marine Legion mirrors its Primarch's traits. Recruited from the toughest that the galaxy has to offer, candidates go through brutal training and surgical implantation of 18 specialized organs, transforming them into post-human giants, clad in some of the strongest armor that the Imperium has to offer. They know no fear, incredibly loyal, and nearly unstoppable in battle, serving as the Imperium's shock troops across the galaxy. Unlike Spartans from Halo, a Space Marine doesn't age the same as a normal man. The Master Chief is currently give or take 49 years old come the events of the game Halo Infinite. Odds on a little younger actually, taking into consideration the time he would have spent in cryosleep when in slipspace travelling from battle to battle. A process we know to stunt the aging process while frozen in that universe. But that's not how Space Marines endure. Meanwhile, you'll look at a Space Marine like Captain Titus from the Space Marine games, who sits around 400 years old. This is not confirmed, as we know little of Titus's early life, or even the events of his life pre-Space Marine 1, outside of his ascendancy to 2nd Company Captain. This fact alone begs the question of how old can a Space Marine get? Even with Titus, you see that these guys can live for a very long period of time. They say a Space Marine can never truly stop thanks to age, which simply isn't true. We see examples constantly throughout the story of Warhammer of Space Marines slowing down thanks to age. For example, one of the founding members of the Grey Knights chapter, an ex-member of the Lunar Wolves, Yakton Cruz. Throughout the 3 first Horus Heresy books, Horus Rising, False Gods, and Galaxy in Flames, we are clearly shown the fact that Yakton is a slowing Marine, not respected amongst his brothers in the Legion for being stuck in the past. Yakton is one of the original Space Marines of the Lunar Wolves from 200 years prior, making him at the time one of the older Space Marines around. We see that even his strength and reaction time isn't quite what it used to be, as towards the end of the book Galaxy in Flames, Yakton is almost overpowered by an inductee of the Sons of Horus. He would win the fight, but not without a lot of struggle. He wouldn't come out of this fight unscathed, being stabbed and generally battered by this half-cooked Space Marine. As we have already established though, 200 years is not exactly nearly as old as they can get. The most common answer to who is the oldest of the Space Marines that the community likes to offer up is Commander Dante of the Blood Angels, who, in comparison to I believe is the oldest, really isn't that old. Chapter Master Dante of the Blood Angels chapter, a man who, in relation to his age, we know a surprising amount about thanks to his fairly recent book, simply titled Dante, where we learn a lot about his early life and his induction and rise through the chapter of the Blood Angels. We know that he was born in the year of 447 M40, therefore making him approximately 1564 years old as of 012 M42. If you're interested in the character of Louis Dante, I talk about him a little bit more in depth in my previous video on the Chapter Master of the Imperial Fist. Another fan-favourite example for the oldest Space Marine goes to the member of the Space Wolves chapter and now Dreadnought, Bjorn the Fell-Handed. To summarise quickly, a Dreadnought is a Space Marine who was saved from certain death but unable to be recovered back to what he was previously, instead being interred in a coffin encased in heavy armour and weapons. Bjorn the Fell-Handed was a Marine that's been around since the times of the Horus Heresy and Great Crusade, He was the chapter master of the Space Wolves during and after the Horus Heresy. That was the case until he was fatally injured during a conflict known as the Proxima Rebellion, occurring in the year of 934 M31, around 920 years after the end of the Horus Heresy. During the fight he would sustain grievous wounds, his body would be too badly damaged and was unable to be saved by his chapter's apothecaries. To preserve Bjorn's life, he would be interred in a dreadnought chassis. For years after, he would try to endure as the chapter master of the Space Wolves, though his constant need for rest thanks to the pain of his interment. He would pass on the role and now serve the chapter as an ancient, being occasionally awakened from his slumber for things such as ancient wisdom at the great feasts, or for war, such as the Battle of the Fang in M32. He still lives, come the year of 012 M42, now being over 10,000 years old. He is awakened still for assists when it comes to war or ceremonies such as the regular great feasts. Despite being 10,000 years old, I personally do not count dreadnoughts when it comes to the question of who is the oldest Space Marine. I am more curious on how long a Space Marine can stand without slowing down and stopping once and for all. I believe I have found one who is truly the oldest of the Space Marines, still currently to our knowledge serving the Imperium of Man, that being the Kar-Karadon Psyker, Taika Harangi. Throughout the 3 books that feature Taika Harangi, prevalently those being Kar-Karadon's Red Tithe, Outer Dark, and Silent Hunters. Now, before I go on, it's important to mention that I have not read the newest Kar-Karadon's book, Void Hunter. I can't lie, I got sidetracked through my readings up on the Alpha Legion. Taika Harangi, as I said, is a Kar-Karadon Psyker, the head of the Librarius of the chapter, and, in my opinion, one of the stronger Space Marine Psykers. It is revealed during the book, Kar-Karadon's Red Tithe, that he is the oldest of the chapter. We find out he is over 9,000 years old, come the 41st millennium. He is said to have met the Primarch Corvus Corax when he was but a recruit. On a slight side note, this is also pretty overwhelming evidence to say that the Kar-Karadons are Raven Guard successors, but hey, that's really a subject for another video. Stationed currently with the head chaplain of the Kar-Karadons, Tangata Manu, searching for a lost relic of the Drukhari, enlisting the help of Taika Harangi to assist in this mission at the behest of their chapter master Tyberos the Red Wake. The Kar-Karadons sleep for long periods of time thanks to their nature as a chapter that hunts in the void between worlds on the outer rim of the Milky Way galaxy. This is something that the members of the chapter want to do less and less thanks to age. Their genetic curse, the ash blindness, makes members of the chapter not want to sleep anymore, be afflicted with bouts of brutal, hyper-aggressive stints of violence, with the intention to seek or die in battle. Though Taika Harangi is a unique case, using his psychic powers to stave off the effects of the ash blindness, the violent nature of the curse through negating his rest and cleansing his mind regularly, teaching the same to his apprentice, Kaori. So, yeah, to summarize, not including dreadnoughts, potentially Taika Harangi stands as a very strong choice for the longest living Space Marine come the 42nd millennium. I wish to take a moment once more to thank my good friend Wafer for her amazing work on the music for this video. I once more shall have her socials linked in the description if you want to check out more of her work. Thanks for watching, people. Have a great rest of your day.